All right, Yahoo Fantasy Baseball Week 5, Tucson Toros group. We're going to take a look at the Grassy Knoll taking on the Androids. Interesting battle. Two teams going opposite directions. Knoll's off to a great start to the year. Androids not so good. I was interested to see if maybe Knoll will continue the success of the season or if Androids might find a way to bounce back and get things back on track. Fortunately, though, it doesn't look like that happened. Grassy Knoll picked up the win 6-3-1 overall. The team's now 27, 20, and 3 on the season, while Androids now sit 16, 30, and 4. These two teams have now met twice in the overall history of the league, and Knoll's won both matchups, one last year and one for the first matchup this year. So 2-0 all time against the Androids for Knoll. Knoll, though, had an interesting week, had season lows in RBIs and wins, lost both those categories. But won saves 5-0 and had the best ERA and WHIP of the year. So a couple categories looking weak, while a couple other categories are picking up the pace. So production in all kinds of areas for Knoll is definitely going to come in handy down the road. Androids had record lows for the year in runs, stolen bases, and average. The offense was just not on. We'll get to that in just a little bit. And now has gone 4 out of 5 weeks without a save. That's something the team may want to take a look at. I know there's not a lot of saves out there on the waiver wire, but at least one pitcher getting you a save could definitely make the difference. There's a lot of teams out there who aren't getting a lot of saves every week, and putting up a competitive number in the save category could make the difference between losing 6-4 and tying 5-5. Also taking a look at some of the other things that shook out of this battle. Knoll took 3 out of 5 in hitting and 3 out of 5 in pitching. So produced in both hitting and pitching. That's always important. 5 players hit homers. The week's MVP for Grassy Knoll was Miguel Cabrera, 2 home runs himself, and hit .563 for the week. Great production out of Miguel Cabrera. Although production in some other areas was questionable, struggled in the RBI category, as we mentioned, record low for the year in RBIs. No RBIs from Matt Holliday, from Torrey Hunter, or from Casey Blake. Those are guys who are supposed to be putting up RBIs. None of them contributed in any way this week, so that's definitely something that's a little bit of disappointment for Grassy Knoll. 10 players, though, got at least 1 run. Spread out the productions run-wise. The starting infielders alone, not counting the utility and bench, but the starting infielders combined for 18 runs. Fantastic production out of the infield for Grassy Knoll. Androids, as we mentioned earlier, struggling in offense, has some serious offensive roster problems. 3 inactive players on the offensive roster, and 1's on the DL. With those kind of stats, losing, you're going to lose every week as far as production goes when it comes to getting runs, getting stolen bases, getting homers. You just don't have players playing. It might help your average category because you have fewer at-bats. They do well, might inflate that category, you might win that, but you're going to lose all the other ones if changes aren't made. So that's definitely something that the Androids is going to want to take a look at to try to rebound from this, maybe dig out of the hole. Also, issues in pitching as well, roster-wise. 2 pitchers are on the DL for the Androids. The DL spot not being used by the owner. There are some teams out there who have DL players, maybe not aware, but if you take a DL player, drag them down to your bench, an extra slot's going to open up. It says DL. You can put a DL player there. You can go sign a replacement for him while that guy's hurt, and that's something teams aren't taking advantage of, so that's something that Androids would definitely want to take a look at. Frank Francisco got rocked for Androids. That guy has had a real tough time as the Rangers closer, continues to struggle, continues to leave his job security up in the air, had a 20.25 ERA alone for Frank Francisco. The starters, though, for Androids looked really good. 18 Ks from Ubaldo Jimenez, a 0 ERA from David Price. Both picked up wins. 4 wins overall for Androids. So definitely some pitching production there if it had the support of some other pitchers to take those DL slots, maybe some roster movement. That pitching staff could actually be pretty good. Knoll, though, Grassy Knoll countered, got 3 saves from Brian Wilson, 2 saves from Rafael Soriano, and a 0 ERA from Rafael Soriano. So the bullpen for Knoll looking good. The pitching staff, though, overall was off their target this week, but managed an excellent whip. Fantastic whip. No whip over 2 from any pitcher on the staff. That's really rare in fantasy baseball. You always get one pitcher who has a rough week, or a closer maybe has a rough week. But nobody had a real bad week whip-wise when it came to Grassy Knoll's pitching staff. Moving forward, Grassy Knoll's now 5th in the standings. Very important. 7 games out of first, so still right in touch with the leaders. Gets the Metropolitans next week. That's a team that's been up and down due to some inactivity, much like the Androids, but maybe with a little more success. Knoll is 1-0-1 all time in their 2 matchups last year, so that's a team that Knoll's had a lot of success against. The Androids now sits 14th in the standings, lost 3 straight matchups now. 5 games out of 12th. Remember, postseason play. If you want to make the playoffs, you got to be in the top 6. If you want to be in the consolation round, you got to be in the top 12. 5 games out of 12th right now for Androids. Gets the face off with Greek Thunder next week. Has not beaten Greek Thunder in the regular season before. They met just once last year. Greek picked up the win that time, and Greek is one of the top 6 teams in the league. So Androids has an uphill battle if things are going to turn around, and we'll look to see if maybe some changes are made with the roster.